Yeah, let's record. Thank you.
My wife has taken the kids, so thank you for that.
Okay.
Good morning, all. Thank you all, first of all, for just having me. This is a pleasure and an honor to just sit in and be able to see some of the things you're working on, because my background is in product development and supply chain management. So I lived and worked in China for 5 years, and the majority of that was working in factories. Mike Lambert and I actually were really close friends during that time in China. And
Cool.
there's probably about 9 of us that lived as expats in China from that 2006 to 2012 timeframe. And we had all kinds of jobs. We were all in manufacturing, supply chain, logistics, quality control. And so I moved back to the States in 2012 and started my own firm. And so for about 8 years, we did product development locally, and then we would go overseas and do the mass production. But we would produce all kinds of products. And to be honest, I would connect with incubators, similar, but not exactly like you all's, but specifically incubators that were developing physical products, because many of them were IoT enabled devices. So we would make the hardware in a physical device and prototype and 3D print. And then we had an engineering team that would develop the software and embed it into the device. So a lot of our work was prototyping until we got it close enough to prove the concept, and then doing a Kickstarter campaign or going for funding and trying to get it on the shelf of a big box store. The trade war was real for us. We really felt those increase in tariffs. And so I wrote a book about it, got really involved in the consulting side. I've now moved much more into the consulting and the intangible side as opposed to physical products, but this is still keeping me aware of what's going on. And so I love to stay connected. Any way that I can help you, I'm totally willing. But to be honest, I'm really just coming to learn.
That's great. I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, that's a lot of work. This must be kind of wild for you right now, with like the whole global systems are kind of off the rails.
Megan, I am a serial entrepreneur. So when this all happened, it was a tough time. Like 2018 and 2019 were really difficult. And then the pandemic came, and all of my factory partners that were previously making toys and tools, now they were making PPE. And I'm originally from Mississippi. So a group of us, 8 of us, came together and we incorporated a company called Mississippi Cares. And so we used that pandemic to be an opportunity to start a new company. And it's been rough because I feel like the places who have the lowest per capita income and the lowest education levels are getting hit hardest because they just don't know. They don't know the correct use of sanitizer and how much of it you should have and the correct use for masks. So it's been an opportunity, but it's also been really tough to watch it as it's like really hit home hard. But the opportunity has been amazing. So we're going to continue to grow that business. But, you know, the blessings and the curses come together.
Yeah.
There's actually some companies and groups you probably love in Portland. There's like a small crowdsourcing hardware group, and then it might be lower level than what you're doing. And then there was a group of makers doing PPE and distributing them locally too. It's kind of cool.
Please connect me, Megan. I'd love to meet them. It's awesome.
That's great. Cool. I guess, Lauren, you're running the actual demo, is that right? Or I don't know. You're muted, but I think what you said is it doesn't matter too much, right?
Matter too much.
But I might share share a chart. So Shakiri, each time we do our demos, and of course my windows all went away. It's my work laptop is in the shop at the moment. So where are my windows? Oh, they're down here. Okay. Pull it all up to my main monitor. Okay. So yeah, we share some charts every week when we demo, just to kind of see how our progress is. I actually thought, now that we're towards the end of the project, we have 1 week to go, that it might be interesting to look at this, which is called a cumulative flow diagram. So this basically shows, as we have been getting work done, how much of the work is in different states. So you look at the start of the project, and almost everything was in the backlog, right? And then as we started to complete things, you start to see these things show up as selected for development, and eventually they're in progress and they're done. I think if I actually pull this in to when we really got started. Oops, that's the wrong thing. Let me, like that. So you can see where things started to start moving, right? So select for development, in progress, and then you start to see things show up for in review, and then things start to get done, right? So as we go through, the kind of interesting thing is if we had not added anything into the project at all over the course of the project, that top line would have stayed flat and things would just have marched towards being in the done state. But the total number did go up a few times. So we added, along the way, we added some bugs to the project. We added a few issues where we saw things that maybe the original story didn't cover, and we wanted to make sure that functionality got in. So it did grow over time from whatever this is, 27 or so to about 43 issues. There's this kind of interesting cliff here where we kind of stacked up a bunch of stuff for development that week. We kind of just decided as a team to have several things, so that because we were estimating that things might be a little smaller, so we might be able to pick up more than one thing in a week. You can see we're down to this last bit, and we're actually, I think the way we're going, there are a few things that we have decided we're probably not going to get to unless, maybe y'all want to keep doing some work after the project's officially done. So we may end up with some orange here. We could decide to put those things into like a won't do state or something like that. And then we have, so a couple things. This last week too, just for your context, Shakiri, the team has been sort of ideating on design stuff. And so what they're going to demo today is really the fruits of that. They've got most of the major functionality is in the app. But actually during the demo, maybe somebody can just walk Shakiri through the app and how it works as well, which would be helpful. And then we can talk about the design work that you all did this week, kind of the screens and colors and all those kinds of things, the decisions you've made. But yeah, this is another type of chart that is commonly looked at.
A couple questions there, Andrew. Did you want me to hold all the questions until the end?
Oh, no. Yeah, if you have questions, let's hear it.
I'm just curious to know, two questions. First, how did you select when the project will end? Like, was that a definite time from beginning to end? And then secondly, as the project sort of changed and you added more tasks, it looks like, how did you select that a task would be in scope and it should be added versus a task that would be out of scope and would not be added?
Yeah, so the project is set up at the beginning to be an 8-week thing. So we had a project board which was kind of scoped out at the beginning with a bunch of issues. Sort of scoped out with the idea that it could be finished in 8 weeks. And as we've gone, there've been, you'll see almost everything's in the done state at this point. But there've been a couple times where we would sort of, finish the story, like meet the acceptance criteria. And then we, once it's in the app, you're, playing with it and things, you might see that like, oh, it might be good if it behaved a little bit differently. So we created a new story. And it was all just discussions as a team of, what we thought was important for the user's experience of it. And so, we haven't had to have many tough discussions about like what's out of scope exactly. There was a point where we had sort of a little bit of a choose your own adventure where we had, here are 4 things that we could do. What, let's prioritize those and figure out which ones we think are going to have the biggest impact on the user. And so we, selected a couple things into the project and deferred, and maybe, at this point, probably are going to have to cut that functionality, but, we did the highest priority stuff. So.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Lauren, did you have a plan for demos?
I don't have a plan other than that they're demoing, but just a quick overview of what we're going to cover today. So we'll have demos first, and I see that you've posted a plan in Slack, so that's awesome. And 2, then we don't have a learning module or a retrospective today, but we're going to talk about what your plan is for the last week. And if you would like some guidance, we can offer guidance, and we can just talk about what the work might look like this coming week. Yeah, So I'll hand it off to you all for demos.
Do you want to go first, Alejandro, or Jessica? Oh yeah, you have the map. You're probably first.
Yeah, and then I was going to mention too, I know we were talking very briefly before this, Megan, since Andrew was suggesting that we show the functionality overall, are you cool with doing that part, Megan, in conjunction with the share location, or would you like, okay, cool. Sorry, thank you. Oh, okay. So I will go ahead and start here with sharing.
Love your t-shirt, Jessica.
Thank
Hey,
you.
friends.
I know. Scott Hanselman, he was doing some fundraiser thing, and so he was selling these shirts, and I'm like, oh, that's an optimistic, happy shirt. And he says it all the time. So anyway, so getting into the design for the week, I'll start with just kind of showing what we have for our map. And I'm just going to go ahead and show what the final stuff is. If anybody has questions about the actual design process, how we got here, we can always cover that as well. But we're going to go ahead and start with just showing the interface and what we're kind of planning on having it look like. And I'm going to start with the map view. So first off, we have our landing screen when the app is loading. And this first screen here is, so when you have the map view, which is also kind of considered our home view, this is what a user would automatically kind of come up to. This button here signifies if they're sharing their location or not. Since it is white, it is not currently allowing them to share location. So it's just taking them to a default spot that we'll have set up. Currently, it's set to Paris, France, within the map. What we'll show for the next view is if the user wants to search for a place, they can click this button here, and it'll take them to this view, which will then bring out a search field. And then we'll also hide these two buttons, the help and the settings views. So then a person is prompted to search for a place or address, so they can fill that in and click the search button. So an example would be they entered New York, and then they can go ahead and search. Now, as you will see, the next view here is what it looks like if the user has chosen to share their location. We're using another color here to kind of show location, and then tying that into the marker for where they are at the map, on the map at that moment. Oh, and then the rest of these here, these pins, while they all have the same image in the actual app, there will be an image associated with the Wikipedia entry that is represented by that particular location at that time. The other button that hasn't been discussed yet, this sideways V, this is a fly to me button, and so that will still be used for if you are using your location and you happen to pan away from your location, so you're looking somewhere else on the map, but you don't have your actual, you don't see where you're at. If you click fly to me, it will bring you back to center like that. And I will go ahead and let Alejandro show the list view.
Thank you. I'm share my screen. Okay. In our app, we have another view. It's a list. We design for the view, and in the list view, we have 3 scenarios. The first scenario is when you don't share the screen. you can see the place around the default center map. It's we choose the Paris place. The second scenario is when you share the location, like the how Jessica explained, when you share location, the map presenter, the places change when the display, you can see the place around you. And the final scenario, when you write the place like New York and you use the search form, you get a new place around this place like New York. And when you click the places, the items for our list, you can redirect for the Wikipedia information about this place. It's our list view designs and functionalities for the list view, and maybe Katia help us with the settings view. Thank you.
Yeah, last week I did the whole presentation myself, so I think it would only be fair to give others the chance to present.
Yeah, I can share. Since they've shown the design, I'm gonna kind of ruin it by showing the prototype. So just disregard the that we're not going to show you our beautiful design, but this will be the actual functionality and you can see it in action. So I'm going to share my screen, but I put it in a incognito mode so that we could actually get some of the functionality working. So here's the working prototype right now. Our map is going to gather Wikipedia articles that are based on locations near you, wherever, if you share your location or if you want to search for a place. Our default location is Paris because as part of testing, we know that Paris has a lot of interesting articles that will show up. So if you're kind of maybe in a more rural area, you wouldn't see anything. So Paris became our default. So in the share my location, we use the Google Places API, and it allows us to, we can say we want to share a location or not. So I'm going to allow it, and might take just a sec. And so now it's going to recenter the map to my location in Portland, Oregon, and show some of the Wikipedia entries for articles and places nearby. So I don't even know half of these, so it's been interesting to kind of discover your city this way. So we've got the pop-up that gives the image of the Wikipedia entry if it has one. If you want to learn more, if you click on the link, it takes you to the Wikipedia article. And you can use the same view for accessibility. Since the map isn't usually very accessible, if we switch to list, then you see these same locations show up as the list. This is a great Ethiopian restaurant, really near my house, so that's super exciting.
Yeah, that place is good. I can confirm.
So I can also use this button to stop sharing my location. It recenters back to Paris. But also if we move around, you can drag the map and zoom in and out to kind of play around and go like, what's up here? And it reloads the nearby Wikipedia articles. You could also enter an address or a place name. I'm trying to think of like, my brain has died. So let's see.
Not Rushmore.
Yeah. Ooh, I wonder, I almost abbreviated that, but maybe it's fine.
Probably would have been, yeah, probably would work either way.
Yeah. And then looks like there's some stuff that's not Mount Rushmore that's interesting too. The fireworks celebration. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if I have shared my location, I can share that again. And I move out so we can go into the gorge and the mountains. But like Alejandro said, if I want to recenter the map, I can click this fly to me button and it brings it back to where I'm located. The one thing that we can't show here is that if you are, say, like on a bus or something or traveling, it can move with you and refresh the articles as you're traveling. I will stop sharing that. Yeah, I feel like that's like a lot from the design to the actual prototype, but if there are any questions on that, I won't go into the code just because it probably looks like gobbledygook and we've been working on it for a minute. I don't know if I could explain it as well, but.
Alejandro, did you want to show the whiteboard and talk through that?
Yes, I can share the whiteboard.
Cool.
Well, in our team, we work with the design process. We start with the mood board. I choose some image. It's my mood board. We choose some places like ice cream, coffee shop, friends, friendship, and I think it's the represent with our app. It's the Megan's mood board. Also, we add the inspiration board. We try to research similar apps, the designs for our app, because I'm not a designer, but I try to get the inspiration. I use a site. It's a App Labs. It's a good website when you can get some ideas if you want.
Cool.
And I pick up some ideas like, and it's the Megan's too. I don't know where she gets your inspiration, but in my case, is this site. The colors, in our process, we create multiple designs, multiple color palettes, and we choose this. And I research for the color meanings. For example, the main color is modern, futuristic, and elegant meaning. And the second color is accessibility, glamorous. The typography, we use 6 styles. Also, we choose the 2 different typographies with the headings and the text. The headings is EXO, and the text is Mary Wader Sons, and it's the size with the, if we need a heading, 1 or 2, we get information in the whiteboard. And about the icons and the meanings, I use some icons like settings, search, like to me, and we create a new views, new components. We reuse these icons, and the final, it's our designs, and we reuse our icons, our buttons, and it's our process. We start the landing view, the map, the list, and the settings. And it's a small summary with our design process. I don't know if we have other questions.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing for me is is the whole team sort of aligned around this design? Is everybody cool with it? Because if so, then we can start figuring out how to make it happen. Are y'all behind the design vision?
I am.
Yes,
Yeah, I think we did a little voting on colorways and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I think it looks great, and it's a you know, I feel like the first couple of stabs at design were a little rough, and we incorporated a bunch of feedback, and it's looking really, really good, really polished and stuff. So, yeah, should we get into figuring out how to make it happen in a week?
Yeah.
Have you all talked about a plan for the week, or are you looking for inspiration, I guess?
I haven't been a part of a discussion yet for plan for the week. Sorry. Gone. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what others have.
I think we hadn't broken anything down. We were mostly just kind of tweaking the design elements. So I hadn't broken it down into tackling that yet.
Okay. All right, I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay. I just jotted down some ideas. Am I sharing the right screen? Am I sharing a Notion document?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, and let me just share this in the chat so everyone can connect to that. Hi, doggies. There's some doggies at my feet here. All right. So 1 week isn't very much time, really. And probably like the designs are gorgeous. I think it looks so beautiful. I love it. The good news about this is that I think compared to the shopping list, which Shakiri is the project that everyone builds in the kind of the first round of Collab Lab, and this is a more advanced project. So everyone's participating in Collab Lab for the second time this time around. I think there's actually less stuff to accomplish. It's not quite as involved, I think, as the shopping list. So that is really good. But I think you might need to make some decisions about what an MVP might look like. Like what's your end goal at the end of 1 week? Because I'm not sure that you can accomplish everything in 1 week. I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, it'd be a lot to get done. I mean, if you know, just like everything we've done, the more you can break it into small things that could be shipped independently, the better you're going to set yourself up for success. So, you know, I think Lauren and I did chat about this a little bit beforehand, and you know, like I actually love this, and maybe you can run through this, Lauren. But the idea basically is like, you know, somebody gets, you know, typography in place, somebody gets colors in place, somebody makes some buttons. Like you start to build up the building blocks for the app, as opposed to like, oh, somebody does the settings page, because the settings page is going to have buttons on it, which are also used on other pages, right? Like, so you probably want to start with the primitives that you can then compose into interfaces. Does that make sense?
Yes. So going off of what Andrew was just saying, I think that implementing those kind of global things like colors and typography, those two things, and implementing those things, the very first thing that you do will go a long way to having your app look like this all of a sudden, right? You'll have the colors in place and you'll have the typography that will really unify everything across the board. And I think that your CSS is actually really well set up to accomplish that. Andrew was saying, maybe you discussed this during office hours, that you'd opted for sure not to use a framework like something like Material UI. Is that something you talked about during office hours?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Okay. And that is totally cool. This may, I don't know if you've had this discussion. Do you want to keep doing the CSS that you're doing? You could also consider using a CSS and JS solution. I wrote down some pros and cons of both. For using, staying with the solution that you have, it's going to be faster just because you already have it set up. And And it may be what you're most familiar with using. I don't know that for sure, but it may be more comfortable, so it'll feel faster because it's what you're used to. It can be clunky to have to give everything that you're styling a class name. And then it's not a huge project, so this is less of a concern, but sometimes you might not have as much confidence with the cascade of styles, right? There might be conflict somewhere, but this is a little bit smaller project. So for me, that's not as much of a concern. With CSS and JS, what I really like about it is it's really easy to isolate styles, to encapsulate styles. I don't have to worry as much about the style cascade. It's a great way to pass down global things like colors and typography. You can just pass down that information down via context, just like you're doing with the state in your app. You can just wrap your whole app in a theme. And like, this is our primary color, and this is the font that we're using, and these are the levels of the font. So that's really convenient. The con is that there is going to be some setup that you'll have to do to get that up and running. And given that you have a week right now, that might be too much effort to do that. It is really fun to create styled components. So I really enjoy working in CSS and JS, but that's a decision that your team will need to make. And then I should emphasize too, like, you want to have something nice to present at the end of the week, and you don't have to complete everything at the end of the week, right? Or a reminder that it's a learning process. We want you to spend 5 hours a week on it and don't want it to go beyond that. So there's always time to keep working on things. Things are never done. Zapier.com is never done. We're always working on it. So make sure that the work that you're doing is sustainable, and don't feel like if at the end of the week, what you create doesn't look exactly like this, that it was a failure. It's already a success. It's already gorgeous. It already looks fantastic. So know that you don't have to have all of this done at the end of 1 week.
Yeah, I love those thoughts, because, you know, if you start, you get the colors and typography in, you get the icons in, you get the buttons looking right, like all of a sudden the app is going to start to look a lot like those screens. And there's going to be some things that aren't going to be quite, you know, there'll be some rough edges, but it's going to start looking a lot like that, because that's most of the interface in the app, right? Like there's, you know, the map is actually a big interface element. We're not trying to style that at all. But yeah, I don't know, you know, like if you think about, like, I mean, 5 hours a week includes this meeting, right? So really like 4 hours a week, you know, some of that time is going to be spent on code reviews. Like when you start breaking it down, like really, like probably somebody takes colors and typography, and that's the only thing they do this week. And maybe somebody else takes icons, somebody else takes buttons, somebody else maybe does some layout work or something. But if you do, you know, if you split it up like that, and you're all kind of, you know, doing code reviews and stuff, we can get the app pretty far in a week, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Shakiri, you have a question?
Yeah, a couple questions here. First question is, how do you all envision the app being used? More like an academic use, where it's like tours and tour guides would use this? Or do you see it more for like travel use? Because I know Airbnb is getting more into the experiences in the place you go. How do you all envision the app being used?
Anybody on the team want to take a shot at that?
I mean, I'll say I had only thought to the extent of, oh, I personally am traveling somewhere, and so I want to see what's going on. But I really like that suggestion about like a tour group or something of that nature, somehow using it in that capacity. But I do agree with what you're saying about places like Airbnb, et cetera, trying to create like helping people go to a new place but experience the local experiences. So I think you mentioning that, I can see how this application could work nicely in that vein. That's a really good call.
Sort of had it as being kind of a fun thing too, in a similar vein. Like I'm a fan of a site called Atlas Obscura that kind of crowdsources interesting places and different locations. And so if I visit a new place or even a place I've been to before, it gets updated. So I'm like, oh, what are kind of the strange things about this town, or what's something interesting to go explore? One thing I thought about, that if I had more skills and time, there's been a lot of talk about keeping, trying to figure out keeping historic places marked, how, especially in places like Portland and other places where new buildings are going up and there's lots of historic places that get lost or demolished. And Pokemon Go kind of had this interesting thing where the Pokestops where you go recharge also are important places that people have deemed important. And I've even witnessed that it's changed within like a year. So they have the old markers of a place that doesn't exist anymore. So you could turn something like this into maybe even like an augmented reality, like walking experience, where you could say, if we go to Albina, we could look at historic happenings or people, businesses that were there, things like that.
Wow, that is awesome. That actually leads me to my next question, which is, as you look at some of those places that may be off the beaten path, like rural places, because I know Paris has a lot just because it's Paris, probably Seattle and Portland as well. But as you look at more rural places, are you all interested at all in maybe creating some content for those places that are, you know, they may not have as many landmarks, but they may have some that are definitely important to the people in that local environment?
There have been Wikipedia edit-a-thons. I took part in like a feminist one. So it's getting, so you could invite community to say like, here's how to edit Wikipedia, and let's generate some stuff that only you know about that other people might not. And so you can add those articles there. And since we're pulling from the API, it would automatically refresh.
Mm-hmm.
That's
cool.
Really cool.
That's
Okay,
that's awesome, Megan.
That is awesome. My very last question is about distance. And I'm wondering, like, so I saw it was in kilometers. So I'm curious to know if I'm in America, does it automatically change to miles? So I know, and then in addition to the different measurements, like, could I say, because it looks like based on my location, it tells me the distance to that thing that I'm looking at. But what if I'm saying like from my kid's school to that location, can I check the distance between those 2 points?
Not at this time with this particular iteration. And at least for the second part of your question, the first part of your question was regarding kilometers versus miles. And that functionality, we haven't implemented that either. Currently, it's just strictly in kilometers, since the majority of the world adopts that at this time. So, but kilometers versus miles would be a very good addition.
But actually, to find things close to your daughter's school, you could use the search bar, search for the school, center the map on that, and then see what's nearby for sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I like to tell people I'm a terrible capitalist because I value people over profit. But as you were like talking about, and Lauren reports to me as after, so that's why she's chuckling. Anyway, but as you were talking about those ideas, Shakiri, like actually made me think that you could take this app and have different layers of data. So we have Wikipedia as one API. You could add Google Places, but then you could imagine Lonely Planet or something that might have their own sort of hidden gem kind of things. And you could have a Lonely Planet layer on here that maybe they would pay to be included in the app or something, or use it on their, like give it to their users or something.
I'm still really excited about the idea of using this, as you all were just saying, to add locations in rural areas. Because when I looked this up when I was up where I grew up and barely anything was popping up, I'm like, but there's so much here. This is ridiculous. So yeah, that's inspirational.
Bias of whoever is creating Wikipedia articles. They tend to be, somebody told me it's like, it's very few people that have created the majority of the articles, which was surprising. So there have been some libraries and other places they're doing kind of the hackathons, like for scientists or women scientists or artists, you know, things like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Super cool.
So let's see. We should make a plan for the week. What do you think about that? Should we write some tickets even?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do it right from here. Is that fine? Or would somebody else like to be in charge of that?
I think for time's sake, it might be good if you do it, but I mean.
Totally cool. Let's see, where's our, okay, so here we are in the Epic. Let me just open this menu screen. All right, so what did we talk about? We want to create some issues in this Epic. So number one, we want to have, we talked about colors and typography, right? So we have colors and typography. We have, I'm just writing these down quick. What else do we have, Andrew? Colors and typography.
Icons, buttons.
Icons, thank you. Icons.
Layout.
Yeah, icons, button. Let me just give you a little aside about the button. In my head, I see this button that you're using in a number of places as being a very, very, very reusable component. So creating one button component that can be used in all of these different situations would be another kind of quick win. Like you create this button, it can have text, it can have an icon. These will have like an href that get passed to them. It has to have some kind of on-click prop. It has to have like a different look depending on whether it's active or inactive, right? But creating this one button that can be then just used in all of the places and you just hook up the props will be a very quick win in terms of like bringing the whole style together. So I think that's why we're thinking that. Okay, so we have colors and typography, icons, a button layout. All right, let's just get started with that.
I'm wondering, like the other things, like there's like maybe the pins and the info windows or something.
Yeah.
Is a separate task as well. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Pins and info window. I'm just writing these down so I have them right in my face. Okay, so let's start with, I'm going to keep this as a story for now, but I might just change it to a task if we decide that that's what we want to do. Colors and typography.
It probably makes sense as stories, right? Like as a user, I want to see this or whatever.
All right, so when I create this as a story, I want it to be defined in terms of the value that it brings to a user, right? So as, I'm always gonna write it like this, as a user, I would like, what would I like? The colors and typography to be unified across the application so that what?
Well, we had
just so that I'm trying to think the best way to say it, because you don't want to confuse the user. You want them to know that they're on the same site the whole time.
Yeah.
So colors and typography provide that consistency.
So using the app feels like a unified experience and I'm not confused. Something like that.
Okay. The other thing I was thinking is just conveying your the brand that you talked about, that's kind of those things that the original ideation around the brand as well.
Yeah. I'm not confused, and I understand the brand. Something like that. You can always tweak these. You don't have to have perfection the first time around. And then I'm not going to go into a ton of detail because we only have 10 minutes left. So description, or let's say acceptance criteria.
Mm-hmm.
So our acceptance criteria for this will be what?
Implement the colors chosen. I guess I'm not sure exactly how this should be worded.
Sure,
Yeah,
this can be pretty nuts and bolts, don't you think?
Yeah, I was going to say this could be pretty specific. So you could say that, the EXO is used for all headings. Merriweather is used for body text. The colors are this, that, and the other. Like you can actually be specific in the acceptance criteria.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. All right. So tell me, what's the typography? What's the name?
EXO, EXO is the name of the typeface for headers.
EXO as the typeface for headings and implement. And what's that other one called?
Merriweather Sans.
Other Sans for body text, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what's the primary color?
Oh, that darker color.
Oops.
The colors are all listed together somewhere. I think to the left, maybe.
Yeah, Alejandro had them together at one point.
Megan.
I added the yeah.
If I click on you, Megan.
I just added the hex code value in because I don't have a name for the color.
Oh, great.
So that's not the right page.
Okay.
I think you go back to page 1, but
page 1.
Zoom out a little bit. Can someone point her to it?
Oh, you're gonna want to go, down and now to the
right?
What's your right? Yep, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Now go up a bit.
Yeah, up a little bit. There it is.
That's that little spot.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. So this is 264653. Let me just copy this one here. So would you call this your primary color?
Yeah.
As primary color.
I think Alejandro added the secondary hex code in this chat.
Oh, thank you. 2A9D8F. 2A9D8F. Secondary. It's like an accent. And are you using black for font for color? For like font color?
Actually, I know when I was using this, I ended up not using black as a font but in the list, it is a black. So yeah, we should probably, because in settings, I didn't use black, but we probably should stick with a consistency like that.
Yep, this color looks like where you are, Jessica, looks like 606262. And then it looks like black, but we're also using like the primary too. Okay, that's fine.
So a suggestion, I think y'all are going to go with just sort of, straight CSS files, right? So a suggestion here would be to use CSS variables for, primary color, secondary color, etc. And then say like, header, the color for the header is primary color. And that way, the variable primary color. so that way, if you change the primary color, you can just change it everywhere with one, just by changing one variable.
Okay.
I
All right,
like that.
This one's a good start. We did colors and typography.
Should we consider that piece, the number 20 issue, the design issue, done? Like we have a design? Is that, I guess it hasn't been implemented yet, but that's more the epic, right?
Yeah, yeah, I feel like this is, yep. Based on the above work, you'll be able to create further stories to implement those designs.
Cool, let's move that to done then. Good job, team.
Nice job. All right. Uh-oh.
You can exclude done if you want.
Where do I do that?
The kind of quick thing next to the, just to the left of where your mouse is. Exclude done.
Oh, thank you. Okay, and then I just need to go back to whatever our epic is. There it is. Let's go there. All right, we'll probably have time to create one more ticket, and then I'll leave the rest of the ticket creation up to the team. All right, I can graffiti. Go as a user. I would like that iconography of that app to be meaningful and something so that
Meaningful and unified.
thank you.
You can understand the functionality of the,
Yes.
yeah.
Nice.
Functionality of the thing, of the
interface, the app.
Interface. Yes. Acceptance criteria. Have you decided, are you going to keep doing your own SVGs, or do you have SVGs just lined up, or are you going to use a library, or?
I've just been adding stuff from Font Awesome. Alejandro probably has a different source, but I think those would be fine unless someone has conflicts with it.
I'm not sure, but I think when you use the Figma, you can export with the SVG main, and we use the SVG icons because for Awesome, it's sometimes I have a little disappointment because it's not a complete icons, and in our Figma we have all our icons. And maybe when you click the icon, you can Figma you in the right sidebar, you have an option the export.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking all the icons are in Figma, right? So we could probably just export them straight from there.
They're all, or should be all SVGs that can be straight up files. Like I know I just added them some in.
Cool.
All right, yep, you should be able to export that as an SVG, and then you can just include it. All right. Export icons from Figma. Let's just link out to it. This is really nice when you are creating issues for your team to try to give them as much of the information right here in the ticket so they can just link out to things and they don't have to go searching for it. Export icons from Figma into the project. And then implement. This might be, we'll see. This might be dependent on some other things, but include icons in appropriate places, basically.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there should be like should whoever's on this ticket create sort of an element that could be included as a child of a button or something, like an I tag or something that with a class name, and so that creates the icon. But that could be put into a button or in a list or something, like it could be used in different places. Would that be a smart approach?
Yeah, it could be like basically create an icon component, and then it would have a name, and then depending, like let's say that you're using, so if we created an icon component, anytime that you would use that icon, it could have like a size associated with it, like a height and a width. So this map icon, for example, and then it would have a name. So like this is an icon button. If you passed in the name of the icon to the icon, then it knows which icon to render. That might be, those can be, take a while to implement, like an icon component like that, but that might be something that would be useful because you're using icons quite a bit.
I think that's how we have some of the ones that are already implemented.
Okay. Yeah, if that's the case, then whatever pattern you have that seems to work best, just replicate that for all the icons, and that'll be sort of what done looks like here.
Yeah. Through out.
There you go. And it's interface, not interace.
Yep.
So interace is kind of cool.
All right, that's a good start. I'm going to put in this Notion document, I'm going to put down the rest of the tickets that should be created. So I'll leave that up to the team, and then you can all decide, since we're at the point of the project where you're not necessarily working in pairs, but you're all working together as a group, you can decide then and amongst yourselves who would like to take on which task.
And you could also, you could feel free to still pair if you want to, like,
yeah,
you're like,
sure.
hey, I'd love to have somebody just kind of there with me while I make the icon component or something, and then we'll go over and do the fonts together as well. Like that's totally fine. But just do be conscious of your time. Like it's like we're saying, like it's not necessary to finish the app this week. Like we're gonna make some improvements to the design. It'll still be there when the project is done if you want to add more polish to it later. This is just kind of a chance to kind of get it in, closer to your vision. So.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Nice. But Shakiri, I'm curious, do you have any feedback for the group based on what you saw here today?
Wow, this is awesome. First question I have, Lauren, what software is that you're using for project management, where it's sort of one was the graphic, and then is this also able to use for projects that are not software related?
Yeah, let me share my screen again. So, so this is called Jira, and it's a product from the company Atlassian. They also, they make a number of tools. Trello, they just bought Trello semi-recently, I guess within the last, I don't know, couple of years anyway, if Trello is something that you use. So yeah, I don't think that you don't have to be making a software product to use
Jira is
Jira.
helpful for pretty much any type of project. Figma is the other tool though that where all the design work is in, and Figma is like Google Docs on steroids for designers, and it's fantastic. You can leave comments, and it has all kinds of great features. It's the most modern software teams are using Figma these days for UI design.
I'm a big fan of Notion too. Like if you don't want to go down the Jira rabbit hole, Notion can have a weird learning curve, but it can do Kanban boards.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Like databases, I put that in quotation marks, but and you can send links to people. You can sort of create like almost like a little landing page and send that to anyone, and pages within pages, so you can store lots of information.
Yeah, some people even use it kind of like as a like their personal website. It's very flexible. It can do a lot of really neat things.
And I see there's also a Slack integration here. So I'm just curious to know from the team, like how much easier does this make collaboration when you're obviously in different places working on different things, but when you can integrate and you can have this software plus Slack, how much easier does that make your lives?
I'm trying to think the best way to answer that. So for example, like yesterday evening, I was working in Figma with Alejandro and using Slack a little bit. And then Megan popped on for a bit. And so you just kind of knew that, oh, we can talk about this quick. Or you see their icon moving around on the Figma screen. So you're like, oh, they're here. That's awesome. I can talk to them quick or something and ask some questions or make some comments or what have you. If that's kind of what you were asking, I love it. It's really, really fun. And yeah, like Andrew mentioned in the chat, I mean, I'm in Minnesota. We got Portland and London and Bolivia all interacting. So other than just a bit of a time issue sometimes, just for time zones, I think it's been pretty fantastic.
It's really cool, Jessica, because honestly, we use Slack at work like most companies use email. Like we literally don't use email at all. And I'm really having to get used to that. And so it seems like you with Slack able to see everyone and have conversations, it's like it's shortening some of the development. Like you would have had to work longer by yourself, but now you can collaborate. So it shortens that time. That's good. More efficiency.
And it's taken me a while, but I finally have been starting to use the like pinning stuff in Slack, and that's helped me a ton. I don't know why I didn't do it before, but just pinning things in the different channels has really sped up my use of Slack and just keeping me from getting deterred or detoured as easily on trying to find answers.
That's really helpful. It's really helpful. Can you pin an unlimited number of things in one channel?
Yes.
I don't know what the limit is.
At a list. Yeah, I think you can. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a life hack.
Slack's really powerful. I mean, yeah, we use it at Zapier too. We have 550 employees. We have over 1,200 channels for 550 people. And it's all broken down. There's feed channels where automated information flows in. There's team channels. There's working groups. There's always kind of prefixes on the channel names, so you can kind of find whatever is going on really quickly. And we've tried to replicate a little bit of that here at Collab Lab.
Awesome project, guys. This is amazing. I can't wait to see like the maturation of it and just know like this is a baby.
I know. Yeah, it's great. They've done amazing work, and the quality of the code here is super high too. Like it's a really strong team, and yeah, they've worked really well together. So it's been fun.
Yeah,
thank you for. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say thank you. I was gonna say that too. Like, thank you, Shakiri, for being here, and I wish we had an hour just to hear you talk, actually, because it sounds like you have a pretty fascinating history and future going on.
Any way I can help. I was telling Andrew, like, I'm not exactly sure how, but more demo days, whatever you all have going on in the future, please just let me know. I'd love to be involved however I can.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking time to come and chat with us.
For sure. Alejandro, pleasure
to meet you.
Some cool ideas. Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. And I appreciate your nice words with our work. It's our big work with the team, and I'm a pro with our team, and because we are support people, and I'm happy we are my team. And thank you for your day.
Yeah, I think you're making great progress.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. team, do you have what you need to go make the other stories and kind of get started? Are you feeling okay about it? We can just keep talking about it in Slack. You know, if anything is confusing or like you want us to like review the stories that you write or something, see if they have all the right detail, we're happy to do that.
Well, yeah, I think, did you say, Lauren, you were gonna put a couple more things in Notion? Is that what it was?
Yep, I'll do that for the rest of the stories that can be created, and then and then I'll share that document in Slack too, just so it's available there. And yeah, let us know if you have questions or want us to look at stories, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
Cool.
Great. Nice job, everyone. 1 week left. Let's do this. Can't wait to see how it looks a week from now.
Awesome.
All right.
Everyone.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.